And welcome to the Commerce Heroes Show. I am joined today by a veteran in the Magento world, Vinai Kopp. How the heck are you?
Hey man, Kalen, how are you? I'm doing good.
Awesome. So
Have a sip of coffee.
getting oh yeah, not enough. You got the beer, I got the coffee. Between the two of us, we'll be caffeinated and relaxed at the same time, hopefully.
Good.
So we're talking Mage2.tv. Maybe we'll get on to some other topics as well. I got to remember, I have a couple questions from Reddit. I said, listen, I got Vinai Kopp on the show. Any M2 questions whatsoever, I'm sure he'll be able to answer. So I'll grab those and fire them at you. Shout out to TJ in the room, Jason Cochran.
Hey,
if you have any,
DJ.
if you have any questions, post them up.
There we go. Yeah.
We want to get as many questions as possible for Vinai. If anybody can stump, here's the reward. If anybody can stump Vinai, I will personally fly you out to Imagine next year. That may not actually be true, but I'll be very excited if anybody can stump Vinai.
It's pretty easy. That won't be hard. See. What about the real challenge?
We'll find out exactly how easy it is. Right. So what's the story with Mage2 TV? Like, what's the background?
Good idea. It's been a longer story than I've hoped it to be. Last year, I was taking a day off with my wife. We were hiking through a countryside in Germany. Great thing to do. We do it far too seldom. And we were thinking of, okay, what do you want to do actually, right? I mean, things are kind of ticking along. And we had this idea of Mage2 TV. At the time, I just was missing like the old Magento 1 videos from Ben, nothing like it, right? So somebody was going to do something. So I figured might as well I could do it. Plus, my wife used to be a digital video editor. So it felt like, a little family business, right?
Nice.
Content, she can do post-production. And my daughter is actually entering the metadata, creating the files, all the stuff for putting them in the database and all that stuff. So yeah, we've got a little family business going on here. So that's pretty sweet. Yeah.
I had no idea the extent to which it was a family operation. That's awesome.
Nobody had except us. No, it's really nice. And well, it took for ages getting it done. It's just the usual business going on. I wanted to launch last year, but well, it's just been until now. And finally, right, I'm finally at a place where I can actually start it, getting it rolling.
That's awesome.
I don't know what else to say. So, yeah.
No. I mean, I talked to Ben the other day and we mentioned it and he was like, I'm so excited about it. Everybody is excited about what's already there and excited about the future of what it'll become. You're the perfect person to do it. It's something that's needed to happen for like, I've had this idea of like Laracasts for Magento needs to basically exist forever.
And you told me a couple of years ago, dude, why don't you just go ahead and do it? Yeah. And I'm like, nah, it's too much work. I don't want to do it.
Wow. Yeah, can I put that on my resume?
Get to it. Yeah, it's kind of ironic, though. The first content I produced, all that setup script stuff, which I find really useful. Now in 2.3, they actually got the declarative schema out there. So a lot of it's already kind of going away, right? But that's life. I actually started it with the expectation of having to redo a lot of this videos, again, topics. And it's still not a wasted effort because for all those instances out there, not every instance will be up to date immediately. It's still valid. And I tag every video with the versions it works with so people can filter by the version they need and see the relevant videos, right?
That's perfect. Yeah.
So just wanted to say it's
fun. No, you've seen enough Magento releases to know that some things were going to change in those dot releases. So you planned ahead.
I want to rebuild those or just add videos for the declarative schema pretty soon too. So.
Okay. Well, actually, we got to talk about the declarative schema too, because I heard about that recently, and I think I can't remember who I was talking to, but whoever I was talking to, we didn't really know what it was. So that'll be cool. But we got our first question, by the way. Shout out to Max Pronko, Casey Becking, David Lyle in the room. Remember to get your questions in.
Max, hi.
John Davis. So Max has a question. He's jumping right in. We're getting right into it. So he says, How to create a dynamic select UI component, which will change its options based on other select components. For example, attribute and attribute values.
Okay. Well, my first attempt would be to, okay. So if I've got a select, right, usually somewhere in there I've got the value that's bound to a property of the view model. So in my select, I would, it depends on what I want to change in my select, right? I could just subscribe to the observable of the other one. So there would be a listens directive in the UI component, or import it using the imports directive. Or if I'm building both UI components, I think if it's not like me hooking into a core component, but building my own stuff, I probably would keep the state in a separate object and with a observable property for the value, and then just refer to that from both, because I'm not a big fan of imports, export links, and that stuff of linking together UI component that's kind of brittle and rigid, and not nice to work with. Yeah.
I think I just learned more about M2 than
Bam! There you go.
learned
First
in the
one done.
previous.
I don't know. Probably there is a dynamic select component somewhere with the perfect facilities to do just that, and I just don't know about it. So I don't know.
Right. Nice.
Half of my job is just trying to sound smart without actually knowing anything.
You do a good job at that. Very good job. And so awesome. We'll keep the questions flowing, but we'll jump back into the thread of where Mage2.tv came from. That's interesting that I didn't realize your wife was into video editing. And so when did you get the idea for the name? Did that come pretty quickly, or?
It took a little while. At first, I tried to get the old Mage2, I think it was, from Alan McGregor or James Coey. They were doing those for a while, because that would be like perfect after Laracast, have Mage2, right?
Right.
But it wasn't that easy, so I kicked around a few other names with my wife, and when I found Mage2 TV, I felt, yeah, it works. So just
I love it.
Went for it. Yeah, I kind of like it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you at overall? You recently sort of I remember seeing a tweet with some of the next batch of content. You initially released some content, you got some stuff coming out. So where are you kind of at overall?
All right. So the first batch of content was about 2 hours of content, 71 videos on setup scripts. So yeah, that's enough to scare anybody away. And the next batch of content is, I was actually wanting to do full page cache hole punching, but knowing a little bit about UI components is really helpful in order to do that. So I decided, since those were rated pretty high on this, I got this little website, Topics Mage2 TV, to vote for topics.
Topics.mage2.tv.
Right. And people voted the knockout and UI component stuff on average pretty high. So I decided, well, I'll just do those first, and then I can do the full page caching later on. So I've got the structure for the full page cache stuff somewhat flushed out. I recorded all the UI component stuff that I want to start with. I won't cover all because it's so much, but enough to get started without going down all the little rabbit holes. I just want to have stuff there to be able, so people are able to work with the system quickly, productively. That's what I'm after.
Nice.
And I've got all that recorded. All that's in post-production. I wanted to launch, basically waiting for my wife to get it done.
Wife?
Right. She's gone this week. Otherwise, it already would have been online, right?
Got it.
Yeah. So in the meanwhile, while she's gone a few days, I'm just recording more content. So right now I'm doing JavaScript translations, and also started with the full page cache hole punching. So that's where I'm at. Oh, and the site itself, I decided to switch it into live mode already. So I removed the beta banner and turned on Stripe payments. So no more beta mode, but no new content yet. So as soon as new content is done, maybe Monday or so, I'll just need to upload it. I just wanted to be able to see if everything works right before putting up new content. So
right. Nice. What I was gonna say, I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, how long does each I'll say it's
sorry.
nice to be able to focus on just doing the content and not doing the editing, because editing is it's its own thing. It's super time consuming. You can get really lost.
When I was doing the katas, it took me an hour or two to record one, and then a day of editing just for a 15-minute kata. So that was ridiculous.
God, that's
So
madness.
now I'm really trying to, I chose the format just to be able to push out content as quickly as possible. So it's just screencasts, nothing around it. My wife doing the editing because she's fast. She can do it well, right? And so hopefully we'll be able to cover ground quickly.
Yeah. I think if I recall, when Jeffrey Way started Laracast, or maybe still, he did like a video per day. Is that, are you sort of shooting for that, or
Well, at the moment, my videos are a lot shorter. I try to keep them, if they're under a minute, that's great, right? But I try to keep them under 5 minutes. So I can do maybe, on a good day, I can do 20 videos without doing the editing, right? My wife will take another 1 or 2 days to edit those. So I definitely want more than 1 video per day. And I'll still need to do my regular business, at least for the time being. Who knows what's going to happen, but I would like to spend as much time as possible focusing on producing content now, but well, it'll be maybe a new batch or 2 per month, and a batch being something between 20 and 100 videos.
Nice. And so oh, that's a lot. That's fantastic. And are you so you're planning to pretty much release monthly as opposed to like daily?
I
Or
want to
something like
release when it's ready, and if there's maybe back-to-back conference weeks, I won't be able to do anything. If on other months where nothing's going on, I might be able to produce more. So in the terms and conditions, I said I promise nothing. No release cycle promise. I'll release when I can. But of course, my goal is to push out as much content as possible, as quickly as possible. Just
Nice.
to add value to the platform, because the more value it provides, the more interesting it'll be for people. And yeah, it makes sense, right? We need to get the content on there now.
Totally.
Right.
What was the other thing? I keep losing. I'm so nervous, Vinai. You make me so nervous. Dang it. Keep losing my
I can see you thinking of, oh, I still have to take care of this later. I have to. I'm just
Oh, I
boring.
remember now. I was gonna say, you talked about like the other, things that obviously priorities you have right now. And I'm curious, like what you do, like what your work is these days, because you've done so many different things, from consulting to training for Magento and stuff like that. Like what takes up, what is your day? What does a typical day in the life of Vinai look like these days?
Can't give you a typical day. Well, if I'm at home, I get up with my new dog. Actually, let's put her on YouTube right there. She's sleeping there. Can you see her? Yeah, that's my new little pup.
Cute.
So she gets me up, gets me out of bed nice and early.
Were you the one that asked Ben when he's getting a new puppy? And okay, now I'm connecting the dots.
That's kind of why. So I'm enjoying having her around. So yeah, she gets me out of bed. I don't know. I can't give you a typical day. Everyone's different. If I'm at a client side, I usually go into the office whenever they usually start. Do mentoring, programming for the day. If I'm at home, I regular work day from home, pretty much, with a couple of the puppy walks in between, right?
Right.
I like cooking in the evenings, so that's something I do. But I also still do trainings from Magento. I still work closely with Magento U, and I enjoy that a lot. And I think the new head of Magento U, I don't know if head is the proper title. Maybe it's director. I always get confused. Since I'm a freelancer, I have no idea about titles.
The boss.
Richard Bukius. He's a great guy. He's changing a lot. So things are changing in Magento U, and it's becoming a lot more productive and better quality all over. So that's very nice.
Nice.
So I'm still doing trainings there. I also worked with Magento U building the certifications so far, the developer certifications. That was fun. I figured I'll try to be part of as much of that as possible since I'm in training, right?
Right.
Makes sense.
Hit two
So
birds with one stone.
yeah. Also, actually, I also believe that it's when I first started with the Magento 1 certification, I thought nothing of certifications, but I changed my mind. That actually had quite a big impact. It really gave people an excuse to learn or a reason to learn, and the overall quality of the whole ecosystem, the developer ecosystem, just went up afterwards within a year or two after the Magento 1 certification came out. So I hope the same will happen with Magento 2. So I think it's actually a good way to have an impact on the whole ecosystem. And that's why I just, even if I weren't in training, I think it's worthwhile being part of it.
That's awesome. Which certifications which M2 certifications have you been involved in?
Started with the professional developer certification
I've heard that one is super
was
hard.
in February or March, I think February.
Okay.
And then there was a workshop in London, a great team of people there. And then the associate developer certification in Orlando, that also was a great team a month later or so, so March or April. And now we did the front-end developer certification, or professional front-end developer certification, as it's called, because front-end developers are professional too, right?
Right.
It's important. And that happened a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, so right after Imagine, the week after Imagine in Boston.
Right.
So
basically all of them. You were involved in all of them.
Not the solution specialist.
Not the solution specialist. Yeah.
Right.
That's so Ben mentioned that the certification process, that they have somebody new on board from Drupal. Might be the person that you just mentioned.
No, that's the one you're referring to, I believe, is Peter Manijak,
right,
I think.
Right. And that he's sort of brought a little bit of a different process to the certification where you all get together, you get it done a lot faster than with the M1 certs. Have you also been enjoying that?
Yeah, it's he's amazing. After this very drawn out, long process in the Magento 1 certification development, now it's a week and it's done, right? It's amazing and it works. I personally think, well, I'm kind of biased, right? Because I was part of the group, but I think the new certifications are a lot better. And not everybody agrees, naturally. It's kind of hard to make everybody happy. And if somebody goes into the certification expecting to pass and doesn't, of course, they'll be pissed and won't like it. So they'll blame the certification, right? The questions are written differently or the language or whatever. But I think they're a lot better than the Magento 1 certification. A lot less knowing the exact class names and paths, and a lot more about understanding the ideas behind how the system is supposed to work.
That's really cool.
Anyway,
yeah. So question from Ben Roby is, can you comment on the Magento 2 Professional Developer Plus certification?
The Plus certification is coming. All I know about it is that it's coming. Probably end of this year, beginning of next year, maybe. And it will be kind of like the professional, but it will include enterprise questions or commerce questions. But I'm so confused about commerce nowadays with cloud and B2B and who knows what. I'm not really sure. And I don't know if it's going to be an add-on certification, like maybe 30 questions and you have to do it after you did the professional, or if it's going to be a full separate certification with another 60 questions, or I really don't know how it's going to be. So that's Peter's job to figure that one out. And well, yeah, but it's coming.
Right. Can you, for our listeners, can you hook them up maybe with a couple questions, couple answers ahead of time? Just help them out a little bit. Give them leak a couple questions to them that you're going to put on that one. Throw them a bone.
Hey, How about you subscribe to Mage2 TV? I mean, that's definitely certification relevant topic.
Hey, there you go.
It's not like I'm giving
Everybody,
away free answers there, right?
right. Read between the lines, you guys. Read between the lines.
Well, one thing, a lot, the questions, at least I was aiming for, were I was asking myself, if I want to hire somebody, what would I actually be interested in the developer knowing? I'm not really interested in them knowing anything where they have auto-completion for anyway in the IDE, right? So it ended up being a lot more about general OOP questions rather than something completely Magento specific, or the Magento implementation of these generic ideas like, why is this better? So why is always the best question, because just because something is best practice is not a reason, right? Why is it best practice? Like, why does it make sense? Is it because it makes things more easily upgradable or maintainable or testable or readable or whatever? And that's the actual reason behind best practice. The best practice is kind of, we weren't even allowed to use that phrase in the tests.
Nice.
Best practice. And I actually stopped using it because it's really doesn't tell anybody why to do something. And a lot of the so-called best practice, there's no reason for it. Just because somebody came up with it, that's not a reason to do it, right? Unless there's a real reason behind it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. The whole best practice thing, like it has become something of a buzzword. But at the same time, like there are things that are best practices. Like, for example, I'm doing a podcast. Using a good mic is a best practice. Or
Well,
do
it is.
like
Why is it good to use a good mic? Because it's actually fun listening to you, right?
right.
Yeah. So, okay, keeping
Gets
viewer experience in mind, whatever.
but
Which
get
microphone
to
do
the
you use?
reason. Yeah, so getting to the reason behind it. So we got another question here. Marco Antonio asks, hi Vinai, not sure if this has been discussed. Are we ready to work on M2 or do we have to wait until it's done?
Right. Yeah. It's as done as it's ever going to be, right? it's it's getting there. My wife has to cut this out. I believe it's probably in pretty good state. It's definitely something that can be built upon. It's not an easy system to work with, but it is what it is and can be used. And it can be kind of fun, actually, at least in parts. And okay, the one part that I hated working with is I loathed it are the UI components. But after trying to understand them for 2 years, finally I got kind of an idea how they work and so on. Just took me for ages. And now it's actually not so bad after all, which is, again, kind of ironic because now PWA is coming, right? So I'm always just in time for it to go away. But okay, it's still a couple of months till we get those things.
Right.
And we still have the old instances around, yeah.
Right. Well, it only took Vinai 2 years to understand UI components, so I'm sure it's going to be a piece of cake for everybody else.
I've got the videos out now, right?
But
So I wish I would have had them.
Go to Mage2.tv and subscribe.
The original idea of Mage2 TV actually was that's something I wanted myself, right? So that's what I tried to build.
We've got more questions pouring in. But Marco Antonio, let us know if that answered the question. Feel free to clarify. Roger Coolin, will there be a Q&A? I think he means QA and testing certificate.
Ooh.
Certification.
That's a cool idea. I don't know. So far, a new idea. If Peter's watching, that would be great. Then he knows what to build, what kind of certificate to pitch to the board or whomever next. But if not, if Twitter isn't watching, I'll let him know and suggest building that. That would be great. Yeah.
Is he on Twitter? Because I can tag him and
he is. Here. Let me see. He's in
Peter
Manijack.
Peter M.A.
Let me
Manijak.
put it in the
Got him.
chat.
Found him.
Yeah. So he's the one. Oh, damn it. The chat doesn't allow URLs. Okay,
That's
so his
fine. It's fine.
Twitter.
I already got
Yeah,
him.
but I just don't like him. All right. I just don't like YouTube doing that.
Yeah, they're probably trying to prevent, like, I don't know, maybe spamming or something like
Yeah,
that.
probably. Fair enough. Oh, look at that. He actually retweeted the link to the stream. So.
Oh, hey, that's nice. That is very nice. Okay, I just got that out. Maybe he'll come in and join us to help us out with that one. Okay, Ben asked, on a scale from 1 to 10, please rate the AirPods. Okay, sound quality is great. Sorry, Vinai, a little bit of a tangent, but we got to answer the people's questions here. Sound quality is pretty good. My problem is that I have an Android, and so the connectivity is a little wonky. I've heard people with iPhones, the connectivity is totally magical because it has some special chip, so it doesn't do it over Bluetooth, but the Bluetooth kind of sucks. So that's the answer to that one.
So
and
quick vote in the chat. Who thinks the AirPods look stupid?
How dare you?
Sorry. Sorry, Kyle. Couldn't resist. It's damn.
You know what? Vinai, you're Vinai. You can ask whatever the hell you want in the chat. You can do whatever polls you want. Question from Daniel Rafike: which is better, Zen client for API requests to third-party applications or curl?
I don't care, to be honest. I have no answer. I think both are probably fine. So whatever you're more familiar with, it would be my answer.
Cool.
Whatever.
It's funny. There's this very popular API client within sort of the PHP Laravel world called Guzzle. And it's all, it's a dependency on like every project. Every single time I try to use it, for some reason or another, some weird error happens, and then I end up going back to just raw curl commands. And it's probably something stupid on my part, but it's just weird because it's such a well-supported client. But I would say that's probably the most popular PHP API client.
I agree. I've used it. It's okay. I don't like their testing infrastructure. Too much stuff around it, but it certainly works. So, and as a client, it works fine. Yeah.
Right. Navar was saying maybe an MFTF focused certification, MFTF being the Magento functional testing framework. That could be interesting. Some interesting meat on that bone. Let's see.
In regards to what?
Oh, in regards to that question about a QA, a certification for QA.
Focus cert, MFTF focus cert. Yeah. Yep. Well, the MFTF is a great effort. I'm not the biggest fan of functional testing or heavy functional testing, but it's for functional testing frameworks. It's quite good.
Right.
So yeah, if people like it, great. And I certainly wouldn't mind a certification being around for it.
Right.
Really cool.
On the topic of testing, actually there was a question from my buddy Matthew Howarth on Twitter the other day, which I thought was good. I wanted to remember to ask you, and I've just now remembered, which is, by the way, the votes are coming in. I'm going to get to you guys. The votes on the AirPods are coming in. So his question was, what sort of testing are you doing for Magento 2? I don't mean what would you do in an ideal world, but what do you do realistically, maybe on your last project? Maybe Vinai, you can speak to this within your experience, or what you're seeing, more, maybe less godlike developers are doing in their just day-to-day is like unit tests, TDD only, integration tests only, unit and integration. Like, what do you think is happening in reality?
Well, in reality, I think barely anybody in the Magento 2 world is actually writing tests, like maybe 2% of everybody, which is a shame. It's really fun, and it's great. So I don't know. For me, it works well. It took a long time to get used to it. It's much more common in other communities, just not in the Magento community. I think it's worthwhile. I love doing unit tests with TDD because it's just a much quicker feedback loop, so I can keep my, like, I might not be quite as fast at first, but it does keep my development speed very constant over time, so it doesn't slow down even if the system gets larger. I, I think that's good, and I from a value perspective, I find integration tests even more valuable. But of course, I have to choose more carefully which ones I write because they take longer to write and more time to run. And I don't know, I gave this talk so often. I feel almost like I don't want to evangelize testing anymore because it's like, okay, I've said everything I had to say, and other people can take over and do whatever they want to do. For me, it works great. It's incredibly valuable. I wouldn't want to release anything that I haven't covered with tests. Yeah, I think the whole distinction between unit and integration tests is kind of artificial. The only reason it exists is because the setup for integration tests takes so much longer. Otherwise, what it actually is about just choosing the right granularity for whatever I'm writing, what granularity to test it at.
That makes sense. Because you could have unit test that fires up a headless browser, you know, or that makes a web request or something like that.
Right. I mean, then by per definition, now there wouldn't be unit test anymore.
And
But
they're all running
if that
in
makes sense
PHP
for what I'm
unit.
writing, right, then yeah, definitely. If what I
Right.
want to test is that granularity of that functionality, then that's what I use. And yeah.
Totally. I actually love your answer to that because I feel like, you know, like your answer was, it's helpful to me. Here's why. I love it. I enjoy it. It's fun. And then, because I feel like a lot of times, at least my sense, and it may just be because I feel I have an inferiority complex about it, but my sense is that the proponents, a lot of times, there's this very judgmental attitude about it. I love the way you answered that because it's like, I listen, I wish more people would do it. I enjoy it. I love it, but you know, it's like, you're done. Like I'm done, like, you know, yelling about it or whatever.
Yeah. Yelling didn't work. doing katas, well, you know, some people might have picked it up, so I think some people did pick it up, and I'm happy and grateful that worked. But of course, it doesn't mean it changed like the whole picture.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about the katas in a second, but first let's get to these votes. Okay, the votes are coming in. Joe Rollinson is saying they look like earrings. Ben Roby thinks they look beautiful. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you.
Fanboy.
Navar Navar says they look silly. Bert
Yeah.
says not as bad as Bluetooth. Cochran says they look dumb. I know where you live, Jason. Okay, I know exactly where you live. Um,
Right.
and then what's else? I think that's. I
Eric, he
think.
looks
Oh,
like Spock.
I look like Spock. Thanks, partner. Thanks a lot. What else? AirPods make me look like a Thai Buddha. Okay, it's kind of
Ooh.
classy. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Oh yeah, actually, true. You got the long Ohrläppchen. I don't know the English term for it. Like low end. The Germans call it lower part
What's
Ohrläppchen.
what's the German word for somebody that looks goofy wearing AirPods? Literally that word you just said, right?
Uh,
Um, okay, so question from Marcin Danzowitz. Have you seen Deadpool 2 yet? I can't
oh
wait for
yeah.
the premiere. Are you
Speaking of
planning to?
fanboys, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna wear my Deadpool T-shirt because the premiere here in Germany is tomorrow, and hell yeah, I'm going.
Nice. There you go.
My sister already saw it. She worked on the team. She does digital effects, so she worked on it and she got to see it already.
I'm noticing a trend in your family. A lot of digital effects, editing, video.
Only me and my sister, right?
Well, your
Well, and my
wife
wife.
did
Yeah.
video editing. Yeah.
My brother's a painter, like oil
Nice.
and brushes and stuff. How old school.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And then he also asks, are you planning to be meet Magento Poland in September?
I'd like to. Um, I gotta negotiate with the family. It conflicted with something, so I don't know yet.
Got it.
I'd like to. Yeah, it would be great to be there.
How many Magento events have you gone to in terms of meetups, conferences? Just total, throw a number at me. What's the total number?
50? I have no idea.
Not bad. Not
Been
bad
a
at
lot,
all.
yeah.
Yeah. Question from Mustafa Secker. Is there a way to reach the right developing time for Magento new features or projects? Not exactly sure what you meant there. Feel free to clarify, Mustafa. Vinai, if that made sense, feel free
I
to
think
answer.
he's asking about estimates, right? Estimating how long something takes. Oh, now we gotta wait a moment till he actually sees the video. There's always a slight delay, I guess. Okay, so estimates. The best answer I can give is going to just a second. Let me Google a URL here.
I'll take your time. Vinai's about to teach everybody
cleancoders.com.
how to do a perfect estimate every time. Okay, clean coder.
Cleancoders.com. Then click on videos in the top bar. Then click on sorry, it's important. Hey, dude, why are you laughing? Then click on the clean coder in the left bar and click on estimates, episode 44. Well invested, $14.
Nice. So that they talk about basically how to do estimates in that
That's
video.
how I do, and that's when I finally, after I watched that episode and started using it, I finally felt like I got a grip on how to estimate, how to do estimates, and it's yeah, and that's
Wow.
I don't know, after 10 years or something. Yeah, so that's what I
Wow.
recommend.
That's kind of amazing. So what I was laughing about was that Bert said in answer to the question, how do you do estimates? He said, short answer, no. Long answer, no. Which is hysterical.
Nice.
No, but if you if you don't want to get into it, because it's private paid content, I understand. But I'm super curious now, like what the gist of that is of how to do.
Sure, no problem. So in effect, he uses that's Robert C. Martin's video. And there's a name for this technique, which I've completely forgot. But what it basically boils down to, of course, breaking out the subtasks, and then for each task, estimating worst case, like if it goes absolutely wrong, like something I thought takes 15 minutes might take 2 days, whatever. Like using JavaScript translation and it doesn't work for a month number, something small, whatever. Okay, and then best case, which is like, okay, 5 minutes. And what I actually think the most likely case is. And then he has a formula how to calculate the mean average out of those, the weighted mean average. So it's not just like the middle. And what you end up with is a range. So you can say, okay, it'll take me anywhere between 3 and 4 weeks. And because the problem is, to give an exact estimate, you would have to do it. There's no way to know it otherwise. So what I ended up doing now, what he also recommends, is if people want a more accurate estimate, I can tell them I can spend 2 days working on a more accurate estimate, maybe prototyping a bit, maybe researching some more, but you'll have to pay me to do that, right? So and then I might be able to nail it on a range of maybe 1 or 2 days. So much more exact. So
That's really cool.
Kind of useful. Yeah, it's been very useful to me.
That's awesome.
So he had these 3 words: honest, accurate, and precise.
Got it. Yeah. That's fantastic. And then John Davis is plus another 2 days for crazy clients.
Right. If it's only 2 days.
You probably have pretty cool clients in general at the stage in your career.
I agree. I like my clients. I feel very lucky that I'm in a situation where I can pretty much choose whom I want to work with. And I try to choose clients that I can work with on a more long-term relationship. And yeah, I like them. They're good.
That's awesome.
Good
Let's see here. Question from Kanaka Kishore Kandarguya. Hi, Vinai. Do you know what factors does Magento observe when selecting a developer for the Magento Master? How do you become a Magento Master?
Yeah, good question. So I really don't know, because I'm not the most prolific blogger. I guess the first time kind of coincided with the YouTube, what's it called, kata videos. But I also think conference talks have a big influence, because the thing about conference talks is it's not just the 2-hour talk, but it takes me at least about a week preparing a talk. So it actually is a lot of time that goes into it. So probably Sherry weights those things quite heavily. But that's, by the way, this is just me guessing. Like Christoph Ringlet had this, Fuman, he had this blog post hacking the master's algorithm or something, trying to come up with a formula. Yeah, look in his blog. So I have no idea, to be honest. So, okay, so I probably shouldn't say this, but since I've got 3 times master now and can't become a master again, I also believe they vet the masters and use, choose people who they feel comfortable with. So not to rock the boat too hard. but again, I don't know.
That didn't sound very controversial. I feel like there's flesh that out a little. I feel like there's more controversy in there than what meets the eyes.
I don't know. Sometimes some people like to whine a lot, and that includes me. Be loud about it, right? Public venting. Oh, not good style, but sometimes I just can't help it.
Can't help it.
So I don't know.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. So some good questions. How have you liked the Magento Master program overall? They've really integrated it to a lot of different elements of Imagine, different conferences and things like that. How do you think, you talked about how the certifications had this really cool effect across the ecosystem? Like what effect do you see it happening in the ecosystem, and what are your thoughts on the program overall?
Well, okay, that's a good question. So it's been fun. I'm very grateful for Magento to, giving me that honor in a way. And I realize to a certain degree it's arbitrary, because I'm not that, I like to make it look that way, but I'm not actually that good at a lot of things that I do. So in the end, I guess there's a bit of luck in there, maybe. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm grateful, and from a business perspective, I guess it's a really nice thing to get this title. But I haven't even put it on my website, to be honest, because in a way it feels weird calling myself master when there are so many people who do so really amazing things in areas I have no clue about, that are absolutely Magento relevant. Like just take DevOps, for example. I have no inkling. Well, totally. So in a way, it's been great. It's been fun. I do believe that it has an influence on the all over ecosystem, because so much content is being produced. And I believe that's partially due to the master's program.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ain't that so? What do you think?
It's funny because I didn't I didn't really make the connection to I think more about speaking at events and organizing meetups. Those always seem to me like the huge factors, and for whatever reason,
I've never way heavy.
Yeah, I've never been super into speaking at public events. I seem to like to do it from the comfort of my own home. And organizing events is impossible. So But I guess you're right. I mean, content has to be a factor in there.
Yeah, Sherry said she has this Excel sheet. Again, this is just hearsay. And in this Excel sheet, she has all the posts and conference stuff and everything. So
it's funny because
somehow.
Yeah, it's funny because I can't remember when. And by the way, I tweeted her and tagged her, so maybe she'll jump in with any luck. But I said something to the effect of like, if she releases her secret algorithm, it's more secretive than the Google algorithm. And she was like, well, I basically say in the blog posts what it is. I mean, we list out the reasons why people are masters. But then I didn't say it at the time, but what I was thinking was about that spreadsheet, because I've heard about the spreadsheet, and I think everybody would be very curious to see the columns and the exact weights in the spreadsheet. Would be fascinating, but that would obviously kill the whole thing. So,
well, here's the thing about the blog posts. They pretty much use the same text for my master's blog post announcement every year. So the first year it was because of your participation in organizing the Magento Unconference, which is a complete lie. I just was on the website. I never did anything. But okay, fair enough. After that, I was out of that website and not part of that anymore, but it still was part of each blog announcement. So I figured it's copy and paste.
Uh-oh. We're going to get ourselves in trouble. No, that's cool. And I do know a couple of people that have, really specifically tried to, get that Magento Master Award. And that I think it has incentivized people to participate in the forums and to do, that's also got to be a big factor. And so, yeah, definitely incentivizing people in some good ways. Well, cool. So where do you think M2 is at overall? It got a little bit of a rocky start, and like you said, things are changing. Oh, we got to talk about that declarative database schema thing too, because I'm curious about what that is. But where do you think things are at, kind of overall?
Well, as a product, okay, big question. I don't really know how to answer this. It's evolving rapidly. Let me put it this way. Without the community engineering program, I was ready to move on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was pretty tired of it. But the community engineering program really turned things around for me. I think the quality all over has been increasing. The number of the engagement of the whole community and the acknowledgement of that engagement has been on a much, much, much higher level, which I greatly appreciate. I no longer have the feeling I have to kick and yell in order to be heard. Instead, I can just write a reasonable blog post and it will get noticed, for example, or just talk to somebody. And before, I thought I really have to, hit them hard for them to notice something's wrong.
Kick them in the shin.
I needed to write these issues, complaining, whining like nothing on earth. And now it's a different story. So I'm all over. I think Magento 2 is in a great position and moving in the right way. Yeah,
that's really cool to hear. I've also been impressed with the community engineering stuff, but a little more edited, like what you said, that you would have basically left Magento if not for the community engineering. That's a massive statement coming from you. And I get it. Like a lot of people do, like, no, I'm going to do something else,
Sure. I mean, it's a big world, right? I mean, there was Lizards and Pumpkins, and that's still, I think, a good thing. But and I learned a lot building it. But it's a big world. There's so many products, and Magento isn't the only thing. But now I think Magento actually is a decent alternative again. So yeah, for a certain type of merchant, right?
Right. I'm gonna get in trouble for asking about this, but I love the fact that you're totally honest. You just say like you call it how you see it, and a lot of people, people that are in the partner program, like it's not that they're not honest, but they can't say certain things, and so the topic of cloud came up recently. I got in trouble for tweeting some things about it.
Right.
But do you have any thoughts on it? Any experience with it?
I loved your tweets. I think you're right on track. It's this mysterious thing, and the way the cloud, the communication around cloud is happening reminds me of a lot of the old Magento, right? The pre-community engineering Magento. So it's kind
When
of
you say
secretive.
old, you mean not like the original Roy Yoav, but like
No,
the
no, no. Well, to a certain degree, I guess. Also, it's just so hard to get information out of it. I haven't worked with cloud yet, so I can't judge on it. But for me, yeah, it would be really nice to have like some concrete information out there that just answers those questions. So I totally agree with what you said, and and think it's good that the community asks, or you in the name of the community ask those questions, right? So I think you're in a position you can ask things in the name of the community, right? I mean, you've put in the work to earn that.
wow. I'm putting that on my resume too, Vinai. There's a lot of things that are going on my resume from this interview. So what's the deal with the declarative database structure stuff?
Right. Okay, so the idea is the problem with the setup scripts, like Magento 1 did them, and they kind of worked in Magento 2 as well, is you have these table structures that evolve over time. And in order to see the desired state of a table, it's necessary to look through a whole bunch of scripts. So, okay, a column was added, a type was changed, an index was added, a column was dropped, something was renamed, another table was added as a reference, and so on. So it's not that readable. And the idea behind the declarative schema is that as a developer, I now can declare the desired table structure in XML. And then Magento takes that XML and compares the desired structure against what's currently in the database. And it doesn't matter what the current structure is, it will adjust the table accordingly. So in order to understand what's needed, I just have to look at the XML. The problem here is that it needs to be backward compatible and compatible with third-party modules. So it can't just take over a table, right? Because otherwise it might see a column that a module added, and it's because it's a third-party module that added that column, it can't, it'll think, well, it's not in the XML, I'll drop that column, but they will break the third-party module. So they have to keep track of which columns were created by the declarative schema in the XML. And those are the columns that the schema, declarative schema, is allowed to modify and expand upon. But at the same time, other third-party modules still can work with it with regular setup scripts, for example. And then that still would work. Right? So they need this hybrid approach. And they found quite a nice solution to make this pretty tricky problem work. I haven't worked with it yet. Well, I tried it briefly, but I haven't really worked with it yet. But I'll work with a lot more when I want to cover it in the videos. So that's an interesting story there, right? So in future, yeah, it's just more XML.
Got it. No, the interesting thing though is that, like, I think about like Laravel, for example, is the other platform that I'm familiar with, and I think of them as having a pretty clean code base, a lot of focus on readability of code and things like that. Obviously much simpler code base than Magento, because it's a framework and not an application. But they haven't done anything like that. They just still do the migration scripts. So like, what do you think overall it makes sense to go that route?
Oh, it makes sense. I like declarative approaches in general a lot more over imperative approaches because they tend to be much more maintainable and just nicer to use in general. I mean, things can go wrong. The UI component XML, but in general, it's as a rule of thumb. So all over it makes sense. What's interesting about the Magento approach compared to other migration generation frameworks like Doctrine, for example, what others do is they take the declarative approach of an entity, for example, map that to a table, and then generate a script out of it, like a PHP migration script, but generate it. Magento doesn't do that because the table structure on development or staging might be different from production. So they actually have to apply it to whatever's in the instance it's running on. So that's slightly different to what people might be used to, for example, coming from Doctrine.
Okay. Question from Daniel Rafike. Is this similar to how liquid base works?
I don't know liquid base.
Gotcha. Okay. Bert is a funny guy. He's he said, did he say Laravel or Yanavel? Did you see this thing that popped up yesterday?
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh my God. What did it? I heard not the Y one. I heard what was the other
Laravel.
one? It was Laurel or Yanel or something like that.
Yeah, something mumbling.
Laurel or Yanny or Laurel.
Yanny
and I heard Laurel as clear as day. And like I looked into it. Apparently it's some sort of an audio illusion where I guess if you're like older people or if you're tired, certain frequencies you don't hear. And so for something about that audio clip, if you don't hear those higher frequencies, that's what makes it sound like Yanny, I guess.
Yeah. There's
so bizarre.
I don't remember which one I heard. I could hear both if I tried. Somebody tweeted a link to a white paper on this kind of acoustic illusions, and I opened it because I felt, well, that might be interesting, and it was a real white paper, like 100 pages of dense scientific research. So it's not something really new. I just read the first paragraph or two and got bored. But
you thought it was going to be like a 300-word blog post or something.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Oh, something's wrong.
Can you hear me? I'm still showing that I'm live here.
Okay, now I'm back. Now you're back. Well, I'm back. Beautiful. Whatever.
We're both back. Somebody's back. Sorry about that, guys. So that's so funny. I'm liking this guy, Bert. He's hysterical. So declarative database structure. We've talked a little bit about anything else on Mage2 TV, like anything else you want to talk about or share, things people might not know.
It's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be a great resource. I really hope people start using it as a reference and not just for like learning about a new topic, because it's so tricky to keep everything in mind and remember everything. And looking things up in the core is tricky because the core isn't consistent. And like every other module does it differently. So having a go-to reference how something is done. And I try to choose the approach for a reason. Like I said earlier, why? Right? There has to be a reason to do something a certain way. And yeah, I hope it works. Basically, right after all the work I put in.
Yeah,
I really hope it works. Yeah,
absolutely. What's the pricing?
The pricing is okay. So to start, there's not a lot of content yet, and at the moment, if you're a single developer, a single license, if you pay monthly, is €10 a month plus 90% VAT if you're outside of the EU. And if you pay...
Did you say 90% VAT is
19?
19. Oh, 19. Oh my gosh.
So €1.90, so $11.90.
You were giving the Texas American in me like
no. We have 90% tax in Germany, don't you?
Jason Cochran is getting the shakes right now too.
Right. So then if you book 3 months in advance, you get a 10% discount per month. And if you book a year in a month, you get a 20% discount per month. And if you're a company and you want to book for 5 developer licenses at once, you get another 10% discount, and so on, right? So I've got this little matrix. I've got a little slider where people can adjust the number of developers and see the monthly and overall price it ends up being for each billing interval or something.
Nice.
So that's my entry level price. And maybe in 6 months or a year or so, if once I manage to put a lot of content out, probably I'll raise the price. But people who already are subscribed can keep their current price, right? So
nice. I think you should charge more. I think people.
Yeah. So I'll certainly charge more at a certain point in time. But for now, I really want to keep it affordable for people in other parts of the world, right? Not only Germany and the US and England or Netherlands or rich Western countries. So I hope it'll work out.
Damn it, Vinai. I love you so much. Such a
I
good
love
dude.
You too, Carolyn.
So okay, so I got some random questions on Reddit. They're a little bit random, so bear with me.
Go.
I'm trying to install my client's Magento 2 data on a development environment, and I keep getting this weird error message which they link to. I'll try to look at that in the readiness check. I've tried everything in DevDocs, and to get past this issue, no luck. Any recommendations? I think it's one of my client's plugins that's causing the problem. Is there a way I can disable or delete all the plugins prior to installing? I'm extremely new to Magento 2. And the error message was readiness check. You need to resolve these issues to continue. This should really be a Stack Overflow question. So my apologies.
Yeah, I agree. What can I say? Magento 2 requires a certain level of understanding of the platform to be able to work with it. It's no longer like Magento 1, where it's a feasible approach just to install it and kind of wing it. It's actually now definitely something for people who have invested time. So in a year or so, subscribe to Mage2 TV and you have all your questions answered.
You're getting really good at the self-promotion thing. I'm impressed. That's fantastic.
There's a lot coming from you.
I know. That's exactly my point. Is like, I was worried you wouldn't be. No, actually, on a serious note, though, I really do think that when developers, are building a product, I feel like it's hard to it's like, as the culture of a developer, like being self-promotional is almost like the worst thing in the world, which is why people always give me crap. But it's so important. It's so important to to get something off the ground.
Yeah. I guess so. That's going to be a whole new experience now. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, though.
This question is a little more high level, and this is the last one from Reddit, but I import spreadsheets to upload products through Store Manager. In order for me to associate my simples to my configs after importing, I first have to create a dummy product, select the configurable attributes, go to the next step and create a simple product. Then I'm able to add products manually, then remove the dummy product. It's mind-numbingly tedious. Is there any way to streamline that? Cobby might be a good fit here. Cobby, cool.
Cobby's probably would be a good fit, or any kind of ERP integration. So the Magento 2 instances I worked in so far have all used some external system to manage the product information. I only created a product in the admin like once or twice for testing purposes to have done it. So I can't really answer that one. I'm sorry. It's
gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. So running. So I was talking to Brent recently about running has taken the Magento community by storm, and you're a big runner. Like are you liking that? Does it make you happy to see all the people running constantly?
Way back in the first Magento Imagine in LA, right? There was this group of 4 or 5 people who just ended up running in the morning. in I think it was in Santa Monica or Hermosa Beach or something. Right. Anyway, and those people kind of kept in touch. So Brent was one of them, Thomas Gollitz, Thomas Fleck, a bunch of others. And it's just since Brent started organizing the runs that it's been becoming bigger and bigger. So yeah, I like it. But on the other hand, it's hard with that many people because people run so have different needs, right? Some people like to run on track, some people like to run fast, some people like to do the nature experience running, like me, who just, go out on the trails and enjoy nature more than trying to get a fast time. So all over, it's great. Of course, I love that the Magento community is kind of into some physical activity.
Yeah.
And not the typical, basement nerds.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Like you're into working out. It doesn't matter if it's running or something else, right? It's just about feeling good and taking care of oneself.
Yeah. So GDPR is a big topic right now. Are you what are your thoughts? Are you starting to get requests from clients around specific issues?
Team GDPR or team rest of the world?
Yeah. I even talked to somebody in the UK the other day who said he thought it was a garbage fire. His words.
I think it's great. Oh, it's sorry, just need to get this little pop up here. I think it's great. I think it's
oh my gosh, our views are going through the roof right now with the doggy picture.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm so happy about this. Thumbnail. We got a thumbnail.
Here she is. So this is mochi, like the Japanese rice cakes, sweet and soft. Right?
Nice. That's a cool name.
Love her to bits. So GDPR, I think it's good. I think it makes sense. I think it will have a positive impact on the internet as a whole. And of course, it's a pain in the ass getting it done right now. Like for Mage2 TV, I've just got a little notice. Oh, if you want your stuff deleted or if you want to dump, just mail me and I'll send it to you, right? So I hope it's going to be okay. We'll just have to wait and see. But all over, I actually agree with what it's doing, and I think it's good, and I'm all in for it. I don't mind the pop-ups with all the options for cookies. I mind building them. I don't mind seeing them as a consumer. I love being able to tell LinkedIn what to do with my data or not, or other sites, right? That's great. So in general, I just take all the rights away from them, and it feels good.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, it's nice to be able to have some say in what people can do with your data. It's nice, like LinkedIn, you can export. It's nice to be able to export data.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's just like the idea that like the purpose behind it, I think is great, and everybody agrees with that.
Absolutely. Also, like this preemptive collection of data. So like, for example, I used to put Google Analytics on my sites, like my homepage or whatever, just because, but I never actually looked at it. So now I don't even bother. It's great. Like if I don't use it, why should I care? And if I really need it, I can put it on there and adjust my terms and conditions, etc. Right? So we still can if we need to, but if I don't need to, yeah, why do it?
I mean, the tricky thing there with like Google Analytics is like the historical data can be so useful. Like if a year from now you're like, man, I really should be looking at analytics, like you missed out on all that historical data.
Yep, true. True. That is true. So one thing that I'm doing with Mage2 TV is I'm using event sourcing. So I haven't, I've got a append-only database. It's only a single table, actually. So I'm just writing one event after the other. Account created and user logged in and user viewed video and user subscribed and user prolonged or canceled or whatever. Right? So I got all the history of a user, and I'm more than willing to send it to people. And I use it to have their view history, right? So they can see their recently viewed videos and so on. But that also allows me to kind of get an impression of are people actually looking at all the videos or not? Or are people just looking at 2 or 3 videos and dropping out, for example, right? And I'm happy to say quite a few people, like at the moment during the beta, I had 500 subscribers, and subscribers, yeah, they didn't have to pay, right?
Okay.
But okay, people
Free
who
trials.
registered, and a fair number of people actually looked at all of them. So that was great. I'm very happy about it. So that's very promising. And but that's a metric that I'm eager to use, right? That I want to look at, that helps me improve what I do. And other stuff, might be useful in the future, but I don't know.
Well, and the cool thing about that approach is it's like you're specifically thinking about what do I need to track with this specific application and why, and then you're tracking that versus, like you said, this philosophy of like, let's scoop up all the information and worry about what to do with it later, which a lot of times you end up not doing anything. So that is a good proactive approach.
True.
Nice. Okay. I just thought of a random question. So I had this idea to interview Yoav on B2B stuff. So we're gonna do that in a couple of weeks. Yeah. But like one of the things that's frustrating to me is it feels like I remember when they came out with those benchmarks around Magento 2, him and like Dima. And like everybody just so quickly was like, oh, you're just trying to make them look bad because you're a competitor. And I was like, wait a sec, like this is Yoav. Like at least have the respect to just challenge it on the technical merits of the benchmark or whatever. But it kind of seems like in a sense, a lot of people are like, he's feel like he's dead to us or whatever because they're competing and stuff like that. And he does take shots at Magento, but I don't know, like it's weird to me because it seems like I still have a ton of love and respect for him and everything that he's doing. But like, what do you think about that? Do you think people are weird about it?
You will never become a master with that kind of attitude. No, absolutely. Oh, I value Yoav a lot. It's great. It's kind of a pity I never really got to work with Oro. It just never happened. And well, whatever. We all just somehow gotta take care of business. Anyway, regarding that benchmark, okay, so here's a quick test everybody can do. Install Magento 1, latest version, install Magento 2, latest version, and visit the homepage. What's going to happen, right? Which one's done loading first?
Right.
And yeah, I get it. We have varnish in front of it, or the built-in full page cache, and we have scalability versus performance, and yada, yada, yada. But okay, to me, my day-to-day experience is Magento 2 is a lot, I have to watch out what I say here, right? A lot slower without being properly prepped and primed for performant behavior compared to Magento 1. And it does take a lot workarounds even to be able to develop for it. Like one of the reasons why unit testing is good.
Retroactively get your Magento master stripped from you.
Might happen. I won't give back my rewards or my hoodies though. They're mine.
You'd never get these back.
I spit on them. I have to keep them. No, it's I mean, come on, seriously, I still can't believe sometimes what a beast they created. Oh man, going back working with Magento 1 is feels like it's flying, even with all caches turned off. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and there's more complexity there, but like overall,
absolutely right. That's just one side of the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and I know selling Magento is a tough job, and I'm happy I don't have to do this, like selling licenses and so on. So that said, I believe it is possible to, like with all the full page caching integration that went and varnish integration that's in Magento 2 out of the box, it is possible to create sites that scale a lot better and can handle a lot more concurrency. And now with the new MSI project, also order placement, like orders per second, that metric should go up like a ton, right? Now with Magento 2. So I believe it certainly is the way to go. And also with PWA coming and the GraphQL API, I'm excited about that, like everybody else too. So
right. What is it about MSI that's going to make the orders per second?
No more locking.
Gotcha.
So they don't update the stock status on order placement, but on shipment. Okay. So they use event sourcing, though they have they have a table, and every time something is purchased, they just add a stock adjustment event to that event sourcing table, and then they calculate the current state based on just summing up all those values in the table plus the last known snapshot of the order status. I might be getting things wrong. I'm not too familiar with MSI. I haven't worked on the project, but that's roughly how I think it works. And inserts are quick. Updates are slow.
Right.
In the database, roughly speaking.
Right.
Because inserts don't need any locking.
Got it. That's cool. I didn't actually want to get Alessandro Ronchi on to talk about MSI or maybe some other people. That seems
that's cool. Yeah, do that. And maybe Igor. I mean, he's a great guy.
Okay. I think I saw a tweet. I think I followed him yesterday.
My daughter, by the way, my younger one.
Oh, let me see. Oh, sorry. I'm usually not looking at the screen because I'm looking at the camera.
That's fine.
Did she just come in?
She just went by behind me, grabbed something. Mia, komm mal. Wink mal in die Kamera.
Come say hi. By the way, Philip Jackson joined us here in the chat. Also, cool. Gillian Owen. Hey, you guys.
Just in time for the PWA mention, right?
Just in time. Story. I'm going to actually plug in my laptop real quick here. While I do that, thoughts on PWA?
All right, thoughts on PWA. Well, it's kind of a marketing term, right? I'm not the biggest fan of service workers because, to be honest, hey, guck mal hier. Hi. Wink mal, live stream of YouTube.
Hi. Say hi to the internet.
Right. So she actually moved to Berlin a couple of weeks ago, and she's just back visiting now. She's all grown up. Anyway, PWA, she's not she. PWA is kind of fun and a nice tech to work with, but except for the service workers, that's just caching. So once again, doesn't make a lot of sense always, and luckily we don't have to use it. So but otherwise, like single page applications and offline first, or at least mobile kind of first, or slow internet first, that is, that makes total sense. I like it. Being able to put things on the homepage, meh, I don't know. I never use it, to be honest.
What do you mean being able to put things on the homepage?
Yeah, like websites, like an app. Install a website.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, it might be useful, but I won't take average Joe's website and put it, install it on my phone. So I've got the internet, right?
Yeah, I actually for Commerce Hero, I have sort of a mobile friendly thing, and I was trying to do a lot of stuff on my phone. Since then, I've started to do everything on the computer, but I wanted to add it to my home screen, and it had the little Chrome badge, so I literally turned it into a progressive web app, sort of light, like it doesn't really do anything very interesting, but just because I wanted to get rid of the little Chrome badge on the home screen because it was driving me crazy.
No, it's cool. So all over, I think it's great. It's definitely something we have to work with in future. So
right.
And GraphQL, just GraphQL on its own is great. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we were gonna do a live podcast with Max Bucknell on that. He got sick, so we're gonna reschedule. I
know, right? So I'm a big fan of Max's, by the way, and I was going to watch it, and I was whining a lot.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
But Max is just such a nice guy and just fun and smart, and I love his dry humor. So. Oh no, he's watching, so that's going to make him feel uncomfortable. I got to work with him a little bit during the front-end developer exam writing workshop in Boston. So
Nice. Yeah, it's
all over.
Yeah, he's a good dude. No, but that conversation we had around that actually was good and did make me think, because I'm doing a lot of these videos. It does make a huge difference how relevant the content is. Sometimes you kind of just get up and you talk, and it's important to just kind of have fun and get to know people's personally and things like that. I think is interesting. But like if you talk about a relevant topic that people are interested in, they're going to be a lot more likely to pay attention. And it's actually doing the YouTube live streams. It's you get much quicker feedback loop on how many people are in there, what's the engagement like. So it's helping me to think more about what do people really want to talk about and hear about.
Can I see the participant list somewhere?
I don't think you can see. Can you?
Oh yeah, like 4 people in there. Plus you were one of them, so 3 others.
Which participant list?
So above the chat, you have this little vertical menu bar, and there's a participant link in there.
Oh, nice.
Just discovered
cool.
that.
I'm looking on the admin side of it, so I can't. I might not be seeing the same thing, but it looks like there's
maybe not everybody's visible. And I also noticed if I join a stream on the iPad, I'm not joining the chat, which is unfortunate.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because that's what I usually just put in the kitchen while I'm cooking if I want to listen to some stream.
Gotcha.
While cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed on the phone you have to kind of tap the live chat. It's not like expanded.
Where is that thing to tap? I don't know.
So like, yeah, I could even show you right now, but I'll send a screenshot. It's like there's like a bar at the bottom where you got to tap to see the chat. It might be like that on the iPad.
I'll look again. Whatever.
Gillian said, I noticed that problem in Chrome, more in Chrome than Firefox. Maybe that has to do with it.
Which problem?
I don't know if she's maybe talking about the issue
with. What is your opinion of front-end development on M2 caching? Sometimes it feels that no matter what you flush, you don't get your changes to be displayed without incognito mode. Okay, well, do you clear your browser's cache? Right, so I do use this disable cache checkbox on the developer network tab. So that disables the cache when the console is open. And then it actually works for me. And I still have to sometimes flush local storage. Just before the stream, I actually did a recording on JavaScript translations. So that requires flushing local storage to see the updates. Anyway, caching can totally be a topic on its own, right?
Say that again.
Yeah.
Unless you cache it, then you don't have to say it again.
Oh.
See what I did there? You see what I did there?
You're good.
Okay, so Phil Jackson said, Vinai, talk about FOMO. I think he's referencing, FOMO, fear of missing out. I think he's referencing when you were talking about all the content out there.
Right. Like asking YouTube content creators to keep it short, and we're at almost 1.5 hours now, right? So
yeah.
That was hard. so enough said. Everybody should keep it short except me, right?
Well, basically, yeah.
I don't know. It's just hard. I love watching everybody and just consuming that stuff, but I can't. So what to say? I do appreciate it when people do keep it short. I tend to watch things more that way.
Yeah, so I mean that's just that's just universal, and sometimes with things like this, you can create like if I really was doing what I wanted to do, I would create, a couple of highlight clips of the most interesting, little pieces of the conversation. And I'll do some of that. But, if I had somebody working on this full time, you would just create highlight clips that were really easy for people to see so that they didn't. And then you do a text summary for people that want to read and all those types of things to make it easy for people to kind of consume it the best way that they prefer to. But, can be hard to do that.
The other part of FOMO, of course, is conferences, right? That's a tough topic in its own.
That's what I was going to ask about.
Envious of the guys who don't have a family and can go to all the conferences. For me, it's a huge issue. All the time spent there away from home and the dog, right? It's not easy.
Yeah.
So I really have to choose. I'm trying to make it possible for my wife to accompany me because it's fun and just makes the whole experience more pleasant also. But again, not easy. We have to get somebody for the dog, and my younger daughter, who still lives with us, has to be kind of taken care of, and so on. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, actually, and I think, you know, being able to travel with your wife or your partner is great. I know Philip was able to bring his wife. Ben, a lot of times he was talking about how he's able, you know, his wife is able to come to a lot of things, and I think that's, you know, talk about work-life balance and stuff. I think that's important, especially if you travel a lot, because it can really disrupt your family life quite a bit.
I love being at home. By the way, I really do. I also love traveling, but maybe taking my wife with me is like, taking a little bit of home with me.
Right.
Cheesy.
That is cheesy.
But yeah, it might, if I manage to get that done once or twice a year, it would be great. We'll see.
Yeah.
She will be joining me for Meet Magento Italy. So I'm looking
Nice.
forward to that next week.
Nice. Are you going to be speaking on anything there?
Yep. Speaking on full page cache hole punching, that's a talk I did for Nomad Mage, I think 2 years ago. And I'm doing another talk on how I develop modules, which is a talk where, well, during the trainings, quite often I see people pick up little tricks and ideas that I use while during development. So I thought, well, why not do a talk on those? And maybe it's useful to people.
Nice. Nice.
Probably most people will be familiar with some of those things, but maybe something new will be in there for most of them. We'll see.
Nice. The conference thing is interesting because as people were talking about how, as people were talking about how, there's too much video and content and stuff. I was thinking about events because there's a lot of events, growing number of events. I was talking to Ben and he was saying that, he feels like there's too many events actually, and that, it would be part of the thing, I guess, with the Magento Association is to concentrate coordinate a little bit better. And what he was saying is maybe have a few less events, so that they're not so on top of each other. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, I think there are far too many events. Well, again, it's just a matter of being able to go there. Every time I have to, if I get an email asking me if I would want to speak somewhere, I always feel bad having to say no because it's just too much. I would like to go there on the one hand, but it's just too much. More focus would be good, of course. But personally, I tend to favor developer-focused events like Mage Titans nowadays compared over Meet Magentos, which include the business track.
Mm-hmm.
Just more valuable for myself. Yeah.
Right.
As a developer.
Right. Well, and that's interesting because, for example, I think of Titans Netherlands, which I think is the newest Mage Titans, that I heard about. Daughter's crying in the background. Hopefully you guys can't hear that.
Oh, I can hear it.
Oh God.
It's funny. Also in Mage Talk, right? You're like, oh, I don't think you can hear it, right? I can hear it, of course I can.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I had kids.
You get it. So like, Meet Magento Netherlands has been obviously huge for many years, and now Titans is kicking up. So you could say like, there's too many conferences, but also like you're saying, as a developer focused, so if you have a conference that has both dev track and business track, why is a conference with only dev track more like valuable to you, if essentially, the dev track could have all that same value for you just within the dev track?
Sure. Well, okay. I find that, so when I'm at Mage Titans, Manchester, for example, or Italy, doesn't really matter, but I've been in Manchester more often. It's a couple of hundred developers. It's a single track conference, so everybody looks at the same talks. They don't have to decide which session to go into. During in between the talks, everybody can talk about those sessions, and I see the same thing. Just the overall vibe is different, and I enjoy it a lot more. And the kind of hallway track is like this time between the sessions is valuable, and I think it's more valuable in at those conferences. At Meet Magentos, there's always the odd client of mine running around who's not a developer, so I have to say hi, and that's great. I love meeting them, but it's just a different situation. Right?
You love them, just don't want to see them.
Well, not at a conference, because at a conference I don't have time to really sit down and talk to them. Right? I always feel bad if somebody else then.
That makes sense.
I have to go. Sorry. It's like, no.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's not how I want to treat them. Yeah.
So it's sort of just more cohesive as a whole. Everybody's doing the same thing. The hallway track, you're not getting split up and having to deal with clients.
Plus the talks are great, good quality, and I learned things, and not just So because of this, I decided during Imagine this year I won't go to any breakout sessions. I just do hallway track, and that was great. I had the best time ever at Imagine.
That's what I've been doing for a while.
You're a smart man. Yeah.
So you pure hallway track the whole time?
Yep.
Nice.
I only went to one session, which was Tyke Bowe, because he's epic. So he did live singing in front of the audience this year, which of course, can't believe he did that.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Anyway.
Philip actually said having his wife with him at Imagine was awesome, but also stressful. Could talk about this for hours. Let's do that then. Let's do that. Philip.
Damn. Okay, Phil, take over. I actually have to go and cook dinner now.
Okay, awesome.
Sorry about that.
We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Also, my brother's in here. Shout out, Dev. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Oh, that's your brother? Jordan.
Yeah, my brother Devin. Yeah.
Awesome. Older or younger?
Older and much wiser. So thanks everybody for tuning in. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for all the questions. Tomorrow we're having, I believe, Sonia, Rice sister.
Go watch
on to talk about being a Magento. Well, all we're going to do is talk about how to hack that Magento master algorithm. So that should be fun. Thanks a lot, Vinai. Appreciate having you. And,
thanks for having me. It's been fun talking to you. Since I didn't manage to see you at Imagine, this has been lovely.
I know. I'm so sorry about that.
Me too. I mean, it's my fault as much as yours, or even more. So
yeah. And everybody go to mage2.tv, subscribe, send this man some money, invest in the cause. Vinai is done. So
I want to have at least one other sign up before I put up new content, so I know it actually works.
See, there you go.
I subscribed, but I wanted somebody else to.
No, but on a totally seriously note, like when people are doing stuff like this, it really is going to encourage them to see people paying for it. And for 10 euros, like, come on, you got to be kidding. He should be charging 100 euros a month. So sign up, support the cause, and thanks. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Thanks.